Hi, everybody. My name's Gregg. I'm the president of Open Source Integrators, and I'd like to talk to you today about one of our favorite customers, Strymon, the guitar pedal company. I'm joined today by Gregg Stock, one of the principals and founders of Strymon. And Gregg is one of my favorite people and really interested in learning more about how Odoo helped him build this amazing business that he has. So, Gregg, thank you so much for being part of this.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Um, so we started damage control engineering 2004 with just a couple of engineers and a graphic designer. We had all worked in the industry before, so kind of had a fairly good idea of how the process went to make products, but this was our first venture into doing it ourselves. We had some fits and starts with the damage control brand, and eventually started selling our products under the Strymon brand, and that's kind of taken off, and that's really how the world knows us as Strymon. We build our products. We design and build our products at contract manufacturers in Southern California. We do source parts internationally. There's a lot of parts that just aren't made in the U.S. So even if you wanted to be 100% U.S., you'd probably just be buying parts that other people had imported. And yeah, to do that, we strive to be the best and to charge a not exorbitant, but price to commensurate with a premium product. So you probably have watched a concert and seen a guitar player staring down at the ground, stepping on things, maybe even bending over and turning a knob or two while they're performing. And they're basically using their guitar pedals, and it's evolved from pretty humble beginnings to just some crazy pedal boards that players have these days. And the very first pedals were super simple little analog circuits that that one of the first applications was this fuzz face that we're looking at, and guitar players wanted this distorted fuzzy sound, and the only way to do it was to turn your amp on full blast. And if you've ever been in a room with a stack of Marshall amps, it's absolutely ear splitting. So the idea was, can we get that sound at a lower volume? And so the fuzz face was born, and you could get that fuzzy sound going into your amp and then turn your amp up to the appropriate volume. And also you may have you heard the wah-wah pedal. It's a tunable bandpass filter for your aficionados, and essentially as you rock your foot back and forth, the center frequency of the bandpass filter changes, and it creates kind of a vowel sound similar to the formants that you get in your nasal passages. So it's you can see they're very simple, just a couple of parts, run off a 9-volt battery, went in before your amp, and that's the beginnings.
Who was the first guitar player to use a pedal, and whose idea was it to maybe do this in the first place, Gregg? Was this a Les Paul thing way back when?
Les Paul did a lot of cool stuff, but I don't know that he was really that much associated with pedals. He was kind of a reel-to-reel tape deck guy. He would string together a whole bunch of tape decks and do multi-tracking, and I have to admit, I don't know the absolute first. I do know that Jimmy was one of the first to really popularize it.
Sure.
Yeah, and I forget who the name of the guy that did the fuzz bass. Roger Mayer, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is some of the crazier stuff, and as electronics have I guess a little bit like all, computer ish stuff that, things just keep getting more and more complicated and more technology keeps, getting applied to various applications. So, now, our pedals end up with, hundreds and hundreds of individual components and, processors that, it's funny. I forget the year, but it wasn't too long ago that the processor that we put in your pedal has about the same processing power as a Cray computer. That took, multiple kilowatts and three-phase power and, all kinds of crazy cooling and such. But yeah, that's, just taking advantage of the, advances in computer technology. But, people still want the sound that they're familiar with. They want the analog sound. So, that's our challenge as, analog and digital designers, is to try to recreate that, that magic sound of, 10 parts with, several million transistors and thousands and thousands of lines of code.
So, Gregg, I'm going to ask a question already knowing what your answer is going to be. What's the right number of pedals on your pedal board?
Well, every guitar player needs one more.
That's what I thought you would say.
Yeah.
I've been out to dinner with Gregg and seen like a gentleman playing guitar at the restaurant, and we went over to look at his pedal board, and what did we see, Gregg?
Yeah, we saw a Strymon pedal.
We saw a Strymon pedal, and he was excited and was talking about how he needed one more. So yes. Okay.
Well, and there's the gut shot, as they call it. You can see a big, huge DSP, which is DSP is digital signal processing, and so there's a specialized chip that's designed to do calculations. It's different than kind of a general purpose microprocessor, so it can handle lots of data and do things in parallel to try to process audio as quickly and efficiently as possible. Because what you're doing is you're taking your guitar signal and you're converting that analog signal into numbers. It's a little bit like taking still pictures and stringing them together to create a movie. That you have these snapshots of the audio, and those come in, and then you do your processing and spit it out in the reverse order to turn your numbers back into an analog signal, and then hopefully you've captured what you're trying to emulate. So you're using some mathematical models and some just tuning by ear, and a combination of things to come up with something that you're happy with.
Well, this is kind of where the magic happens, Gregg, I think, is as a computer scientist, I had to take an algorithms class, and it was very theoretical and fun because it was theoretical.
Mm-hmm.
But your company lives in the day-to-day application of algorithms. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. Really a pretty wide variety, from the sound processing, and then also you want now you want your pedals to communicate over USB and through MIDI, and so you have your stuff that's very much removed from the audio but still part of the overall system.
Okay, cool.
And that's where I think I can give a shout out to our partner Pete, as an engineer who's familiar with the sort of theoretical signal processing, but also a very talented player with an excellent ear. So he can kind of meld that art and science together to I think in general, if you can start with a very solid theoretical foundation, you're going to get close, but then that last 10% is the magic of kind of tuning it by ear, and that can kind of make all the difference. But yeah, yeah, the good foundation, and then the finishing touch, I think, is what's allowed us to be successful.
Cool.
Uh, yeah, we thought we knew what we were doing, and we we had some early acclaim, but ultimately, our first round of damage control products weren't enough to sustain our business. We were making some income, but not enough to really keep going. So we did some consulting work, and that kind of helped us float through till we could kind of like get our next generation. Basically, take what we'd learned about what people liked and um, you know incorporate that into the next generation of products, which were released under the Strymon brand. So one of my my advice to anybody starting out a business is figure out how to stay in business. If you're probably going to get it wrong, and maybe more than once. So you want to give yourself as many shots on goal as you can before you're back to your day job. So
Yeah. Let's see.
um, again, to a little bit of luck and perseverance. Guitar pedals have been an amazing growth area in the music industry, but we kind of stumbled into that. I think if we had a whole bunch of funding or something, we probably would have built a guitar amp, which was more of what was popular at the time. Although since then, guitar amps have gone way down. People are way less interested in playing loud and in bigger concert venues, but they love buying effects pedals. It's a fairly low risk investment. The price points are much lower than an amp or a guitar, and you can it's an accessory, and people almost trade them like baseball cards. And they're always just looking for a little tweak here, a little tweak there. That and the pedal is like the analogy of say women's handbags. It's like, yeah, you can always get one to go, and there's always another one that's possible to throw in the mix. And then the nice thing is that the used market holds up, so that people don't really lose much on their investment, so they're able to kind of flip them and trade them, and oh, I'm going to sell 2 of these and get 1 of those. And that I think has also been a inadvertent thing we stumbled into. Than that, we had our initial success was during the first the Great Recession, that our products were going up, and things were looking pretty good, and the world's kind of crumbling around us. And people don't need new money. They've got got a couple $1,000s into their pedal board, and if they want a new pedal, they just sell one and get another one. So and usually through a PayPal account that their significant other doesn't really know about. So they they don't have to they don't have to bring the money into the family bank account. They can kind of just circulate it around. And then last whenever it was, March, we're seeing the world coming to an end, everything shutting down, and then all of a sudden our sales are going crazy because people were staying home and playing guitar. And so it was a huge challenge to try to continue to get materials in, and from our suppliers, and get our contract manufacturers who had some issues where they had to shut down, and make sure that everybody was safe. And we had to come in and do the shipping as the the majority of the employees kind of stayed home during the initial lockdown. But it's been a battle to meet the demand, and we kind of had a record year with all of that sales really being in the last half of the year. And
I'd like to ask one question. Again, I kind of know the answer to this. since we've been your Odoo partner for a number of years now, and we did a migration a few years ago, but I think all along the flexibility of Odoo and specifically, enabling people to work from home or work from anywhere, I think that was helpful to you last year, Greg.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, we'd set that up and some people had work from home here and there, but I guess we hadn't really tested the full extent of, having, everybody work from home, but it was really kind of a seamless transition. Some people were offsite permanently, but some people were, here and there. And then, yeah, it's like, I guess, I think everybody had already worked from home a little bit. So there wasn't much really to do other than, you know, uh, figure out how to have some more, Slack meetings. But,
Well,
versus in person.
you're being modest, Greg. You guys are managing purchasing, sales, manufacturing, supply chain, quality, everything, and you were able to transition to work from home seamlessly. That's impressive. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, in fairness, the warehouse where we're physically shipping was probably the place where we got hit. But as far as all the people sitting at a computer, it was pretty smooth. We have a few in-house servers for some kind of legacy stuff that are accessed through a VPN. But Odoo, like you said, is the bulk of our business, and it's available on the internet. So anybody with an internet connection can get at it.
Yeah. Okay.
Some of the things that we've tried to do to be resilient and is it's looking at fixed versus scalable costs. We basically we buy parts and build products and sell them, and we don't have really a lot of assets or hard assets. We own some test equipment and computers and such. We lease our building. We do contract manufacturing. So, there really isn't a lot of, kind of sunk cost um, in hard depreciating, style assets. So if our business, if all of a sudden, some new competitor came in and started kicking our butts, well, that wouldn't be good, but we would hopefully just buy fewer parts and wouldn't have to really hopefully we could absorb that kind of a hit, or and I think that's that's been our goal, is to if we can spend money on productivity, it's really kind of a no-brainer. We try to be as productive and minimize the amount of fixed cost, labor, as much as we can.
Yeah. So I don't want you to spend too much time on this, Greg, but how'd you meet me?
Well, we had kind of gotten then, Open ERP to work with our inventory and accounting system, but we still were struggling with trying to get reports. And I think the sequence was I found your book on Amazon, and it's like, oh, here we go, accounting, because that's really where we were struggling, was to get the the accounting and the material acquisition kind of synced up. And so, yeah, I called Greg, and it was really, it was a lot of work, but really pretty straightforward. And I was impressed at how much knowledge of accounting that they had, and it's really critical. You need somebody who has that accounting background and understanding of the system of you know, to really get it to work with all the, stages that our materials needed to go through, from purchase order to, work in progress to, finished goods, to cost of goods sold, and sales orders. And, it's, it seems simple once it works, but,
You
getting there can be challenging.
you guys have grown a lot since I've known you. This is really due to some strategic hires and some growth on your side. You guys are absolutely top notch here.
Well,
So
thank you. And, it's been great working with, guys like Patrick and, and Ben and you, and you've got a great team. It's
thank
made
you.
made
Okay.
our life much easier being able to go, hey, call OSI. They'll hook you up.
Okay, this is completely unsolicited, but thank you, Greg. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about how they use Odoo. And they are using Odoo for pretty much everything you would expect in a manufacturing business. So starting with purchasing, including the purchasing of services from a contract manufacturer, and scheduling and the complicated little pieces that go into that. You are using it for sales, accounting, RMAs. One thing I am going to tout is you don't really need that much for RMAs in your case, Greg, because I don't think you have a lot of failures of your gear. I think
Yeah.
you have the occasional person that gets a little rowdy with their pedal, but that's about as far as it gets. So
Right. Yeah. They occasionally will, drunk fans will fall on their pedals, or, maybe vomit on them. But, we have some really diligent, talented people in manufacturing that, make sure they get built right, and try to get, failure information back to engineering to make design changes to continue to have robust products.
yeah. Okay. So what are the results? And I can say this being being a vendor to Strymon, is they've grown at an exponential rate. You showed that chart earlier about the growth of the market, but you guys have grown at a rate much faster than the market, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. We've continued to, the products have had a very long life. Like there's naturally kind of the upside down parabola of growth, and then decay. But the very, very flat top, or mild decay on some of the older products, and then we continue to put out new products that add to the mix, and I think those new products bring you new customers, which help your old products. And
Yeah.
we're in a market that's where there's digital technology, but we want the product to feel analog. That even though the technology may be 10 years old, it shouldn't feel old, because what you're comparing it with is other analog products that people feel they tend to get better with age.
Yeah. One key takeaway I can see from the outside is what I believe the Odoo system has been able to do is allow you, Pete and Dave, and all the other engineers to focus on the engineering. And that's your happy place anyway. That's where I know you're having fun. And, there's always supply chain challenges and things like that. But to the extent we've been able to remove a lot of those barriers so that you really can focus on what you love doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, maybe, just thinking that through a little bit more, for example, I was really involved in a lot of the, the Odoo system and such. And it did, consume some of my time, but say bringing in, we brought in a COO or CFO, and then eventually promoted him to COO. He was able to come in with zero experience and understand the system, with training from in-house and working with you guys, to to where, yeah, I've been able to pretty much step away, 100%, and like you said, get back to, what we really enjoy, which is designing more products. And yeah, we've got a whole group of people with very wide range of technical skills that use the system successfully. So yeah, it's you know uh, it it's a tough thing picking an open source platform, because you just don't know who you want to pick the winner. You
Yeah.
don't want to be on some project that gets abandoned. And we got lucky to back the right horse.
Yeah. So, Greg, I really want to thank you for being a part of this. You're a great friend and colleague here. I love the organization. Folks, this is what it looks like inside. And yes, they're drinking whiskey all the time. No, they're not. But it's an amazing company, and I'm really proud to be able to work with you, Greg. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and we love working with you guys, and it's been a success all the way around, I think.